What is up, guys? It is the Muddy Puddle Squad here. Welcome back to a brand new video. And recently, a user on my channel actually gave me a request to do a video on unaccounted for, or how many unaccounted for supercentenarian men are there likely to be. So there's more, obviously, there's less men than there are women supercentenarians, so there would be more women on this list than men. But anyway, so I decided that I would actually do the video, and I figured out these numbers by the probability and chances of becoming a supercentenarian, and also the world's population. So these men now have not actually reached. Some of them have not had their birthdays this year, so these are kind of like these are kind of rough numbers. So for example, there should be, I believe, 112-year-old men. 112-year-old men. So I included all the men here that are due to turn 112 or have turned 112 this year in 2023. So just pretend it's December 31st and, they've all celebrated their birthdays. So in 1911, we should have an upper bound of 12 men. Now that's an upper bound. That means that if we hit the jackpot, if we hit the lottery, and we got the biggest percentage possible, we should have an upper bound of 12 and the lowest bound is probably 6. So between 6 and 12 men, and so far we have 4. And these men, and on this document, these men, unless noted, these men are all either partially documented, partially validated, or fully validated. So just to get that out of the way, unless it says, of course, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we have 4 men alive today that were born in 1911 that are fully either documented, like I said, partially fully documented, partially fully validated. So we got Francis Zuane, Abilio Borges Moreira, Josias de Oliveira, and Gisaburo Sonobi. So between 6 and 12, so there's at least 2 unaccounted for men born in 1911. Unfortunately, I thought these numbers were going to be much higher, but they're actually not as high as I thought. So there are 2 unaccounted for men that were probably born in 1911. And our potential candidates include Sebastian Catalan, Estanislao Jimenez Cruz, who is unvalidated in limbo, and his status is unknown, whether he's documented or there's very little is known about this man. There's John Salino Norberto, who was likely born in 1921, and Fauha Singh, who was likely born in 1928. So given this, if we exclude these 3 guys, because they all have age issues, if we exclude these, well, actually I don't know if he does or not. I don't know anything about him. But if we exclude these 2 guys, that gives us the 2 for our lower bound of 6, and that gives us a potential of 6 men that are unaccounted for if these guys' ages are true. So Sebastian Catalan, I don't know anything about him either, but I do know that he is on the list for the gerontology. So I would assume, if he's on that list, he's got to have some documentation, right? Because he's not considered a claimant. So I would assume he has some documentation. I really don't know. There's not much known about him either. So for 1910, we should have an upper bound of 6 men, and the lowest bound would probably be around 3 men. So 3 to 6 men. And we have 2 that are accounted for: Efrain Antonio Rios Garcia and Otilio Dominguez Santos. So we could possibly have 4 men, place 3, 4, 5, and 6 that are unaccounted for. And our potential candidates are Alvaro Jose de Souza, anonymous from Honduras. And the reason why we're skeptical of this man is because he is the news station that interviewed him has not provided a name or any information that would actually give us any sort of, any sort of credibility. So as far as we know, he doesn't have any sort of documentation. And Carlos Julio Rincon Garzon, who documentation says was probably born in 1915. So as you can see, the odds get smaller and smaller So the chances of having more men gets even less likely. So it's possible we could have even four. We could have four men on this list that are unaccounted for, but it's possible we could only have one, and that might be Alvaro Jose de Souza. So for 1909, we have an upper bound of 3 men and a lower bound of probably 1 man. And we have one accounted for man, Juan Vicente Perez Mora. So if we're doing good, if we got good chances, we likely have one of these men who is also possibly even 2 of these men who are the ages claimed. We have Juan Jose Vera Villalba, who has an ID card issue. So a user on the forum said that they found an ID card from him stating that he was actually born in 1921, Juan Jose Vera Villalba. Let me highlight his name. This guy right here. So he actually had an ID card issue stating that he may have been born in 1921. However, this user on the forum has refused to provide any proof that such an ID card exists. So we can't exactly, let me go and put a question mark there, because we can't actually take that as factual information yet. But it's definitely something that I think the researchers need to look into. We have Gabriel Lopez Morales, who was confirmed to have celebrated his 112th birthday in March of 2021, but is currently in limbo because there's been no updates. And we have Santos Cruz Flores, who's a potential candidate, I would say the most likely here, to be either place 2 or 3. Although with Mr. Santos Cruz Flores, he is in unusually good shape for a man who's going to be 114 in 2 months. And that's a bit skeptical. I mean, he can still walk on his own. We have to remember that there are men out there that have walked on their own older, and there have been men in similar shape, but it's just very, very unusual. So, but I would still say he's probably the most likely. Now, 1908, we have, if you round up, we have an upper bound of 2 men, and we have a lower bound of probably 1 man. So we have 1, possibly 2, unaccounted for, and our potential candidates are Joao de Misanga and Elias Chavez Alvarez. Now, in my opinion, I would probably have to say Joao de Misanga is probably the more likely of those 2. And the reason why for that is because he has been thoroughly researched since 2020, and there have been nothing found on him to debunk his case, or there have been no red flags on his case. Elias Chavez Alvarez has been researched less, and there's less known about him. So that's what I would say. But, I don't think that there's any red flags for either of these men's cases as of right now. I will say that neither of them have early life documentation. Both of them have midlife and late life, but neither of them have early life documentation. So we would need to find that before these men would become truly plausible, I guess you could say. 1907, rounding up to 1 man. So if we're very, very, very lucky, we would have 1 man alive today that was born in 1907. But chances are we probably don't, unfortunately. So possibly 1 unaccounted for. And we have Jose Flores Flores, who is the most plausible of these 2 men. But he needs to provide proof that he and his son are 2 different people. So he actually does have documentation, early life documentation. But the only problem is we need to prove that he did not get that documentation mixed up with his son. And his family is refusing to provide any sort of documentation on his son. So we need to figure that out before we can even consider him plausible. If his family were to submit that information, that would definitely support his case massively. But unfortunately, right now, his case is in his family's hands because only his family can provide that information. So, and I don't know why they're choosing not to, but that makes his case even more skeptical. But I don't know, it's still possible he could be the age claimed. And Vicente Landaeta is likely born in 1930 instead of 1907. So, yeah. And our last potential candidate is Jose Jimenez Cruz. Not enough information is known about this man, but he was, quote, proved by the same Panamanian news station that also verified a 125-year-old woman from Panama. Now, this right here is extremely skeptical, and I'll tell you why. He's also in limbo, by the way. Let me go ahead and add that down below here. Limbo, 117th birthday, not confirmed. Because it's not. He was last proven to be alive in April of this year at 116 and 322 days. So if his age is true, he would be older than Anicio Alves, and the oldest fully validated man ever recorded. As remember, Shigeikyo Izumi is only partially validated. But anyway, so this Panamanian news station, that proved his age, is not a legit research team. That is a huge red flag, because why would they have this news station verify his age when they could just send his documents to an actual research team? And this Panamanian news station also verified a 125-year-old woman. Do you know how unlikely that is, to have two people that age from the same country? Especially both, well, the woman would be an outlier, which is incredibly rare. But Mr. Jose Jimenez Cruz wouldn't exactly be an outlier, but it would still be a historical validation. So this Panamanian news station here that verified him has absolutely no credibility. And as you see who else they also verified, so that whatever credibility they had, which was hardly any, just went out the window with this other verification that they had. That's like if some guy on the street were to claim that he was 200 years old. It'd be the exact same thing. Or a better way to put that, if, let's say, I said I was 200 years old, and just some random guy on the street, quote unquote, validated my age, he'd have absolutely no credibility, so you wouldn't be able to believe it. But it is still possible that he is the age claimed, and I'll tell you why. Because there have been no, on the all the gerontology websites, there has been absolutely zero, proof or records to debunk his case, although there's also been zero proof to validate his case. So right here, this Mr. Jose Jimenez Cruz, the first sentence right here says it all. Not enough information is known about this man. Hopefully someday more information will come out, and hopefully someday his 117th birthday will be confirmed. So according to the most recent Panamanian census, he is no longer included. However, that doesn't mean that he has passed away. He could still be alive. The census that included him here was a different census than the one that does not show that he's alive, and I'll explain that. The census that originally validated him, this Panamanian news station that did their census, could have also been a census that also includes unvalidated cases like him, whereas the official Panamanian census may not include unvalidated cases. So it's possible that he could still be alive, but unfortunately there's no proof of that. Anyway, thanks guys for checking out this video. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all in the next one. And again, I'm just going to go back over that one last time. If we got the most possible supercentenarians that we could have gotten, we would have 8 more men, because remember, we've got 4. We should have 12 men from 1911, and we've got 4. So that means that there's 8 unaccounted for. You know what, I'm going to go ahead and put an 8 there so that you guys know I don't mean 12. So if we got the most, which I try to be optimistic about, we should have 8, and here are some potential candidates, although these 2 guys are very unlikely, and this man may no longer even be alive. But there are 8. As for 1910, where's my cursor? Okay, so we probably have 4 maximum that are unaccounted for. Because remember, we should have 6, but we got 2 accounted for, and 4 down here that are unaccounted for. For 1909, Maximum, we should have 2 that are unaccounted for. 1908, I would say more like 1 that's unaccounted for. Yeah, because we're rounding up. So I would say, we should probably only have 1, and that is probably Joao the Misanga. In 1907, possibly 1, but unlikely. And for 1906, I don't think that there's any accounted for men. I think that is too far back. But I did include one man, Mr. Jose Jimenez Cruz, just for the very rare chance, for the rare draw, I guess you could say. But anyway, thanks guys for checking out this video. Hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope to see all of you guys in the next one. Please do not forget to subscribe, as it really helps out the channel a lot. And comment down below. I love hearing your guys' comments, and I love responding to them. Thanks guys, and I'll see you all next time. Later.